Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Been a busy couple of days, but I found time to make this cute top. I originally envisioned this in a different color, but I'm glad we went with this pretty variegated. I haven't used it in a while, and it means I'll be surprised when I see all of your recreations. Speaking of, if you do, be sure to hit me up on all the usual places, links down below. While you're down there, do me a huge favor and click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, be sure to click the bell to make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss out on what we got coming. Now, time to get the show on the road. So without further ado, for this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I used a total of 130 grams of yarn, and that's 300 yards if you're stateside, and the individual measurements will be on the screen. As for tools, a 4mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by commenting your favorite movie genre. I'm a sucker for animal docs. We're using 3 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and half double crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're first going to grab our category 3 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 4mm hook. We're all going to start by making a chain from our underarm that reaches down to underneath the girls. So I'm going to start by making a chain that's 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters. That's going to be a chain of 20. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain of 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So insert your hook, there should be 2 loops on it. From here, all we're going to do is yarn over and pull both of those loops. There's 1, and then there's 2. Let's do our next slip stitch together. Into that next chain, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through everything. Once more, into that next chain, yarn over, and pull through everything. Continue to put 1 slip stitch into every chain, and a really quick tip that I have for you guys is to make sure you're not tugging on your slip stitch right after you finish the stitch, like this, so that the next row is easier to go into. I'll meet you guys back at the end of this row. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, we're now going to chain 2, and that's how we're going to do our increase for our second row. So chain 1, and chain 2, and flip our work. Now the chain that's nearest to the hook counts as our turning chain, and we're going to start by inserting our hook into the second chain from our hook. So insert into that back loop, yarn over, and pull through everything. And that is going to be where the extra stitch comes in for this second row for our increases. From here, we're going to be working into every back loop, putting 1 slip stitch. So into this next stitch, insert your hook into that next back loop only, yarn over, and pull through everything. Let's do this again. Into that next back loop, yarn over, and pull through everything. Now, continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. When we reach the end of this row, do a chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again, while maintaining the chain 2 along this increased side. We're going to keep alternating between those 2 rows until this portion reaches from mid-underarm to the front of our body, and then I'll meet you guys back along the top. Alright, so I am back with my underarm portion. The total amount of rows that I have is 21, and my width is 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters. From here, since we all should have ended along the top, what we're going to do is make a chain that reaches up to our collarbone. So I'm going to start by making a chain of 10, and that's just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. And now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain of 1. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with another slip stitch. And then from here, we're going to put one slip stitch into every chain. Once we reach the body portion, put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, flip our work, chain one, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, leaving the last two when we work our way back up so that I can show you how we're going to decrease. All right, so I am back and I put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch and have left the last two stitches to do our decrease together. So into that second to last stitch, go ahead and insert your hook into that back loop, pull through, and through that last back loop, you're going to yarn over and pull through all three of those loops. And once we have that, chain one, flip a work, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. When we reach the end of that row, do a chain one, flip a work, and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch while maintaining the decrease of two back loop slip stitches along the top right here anytime we work our way up to the top. When we reach the end of this row, do a chain one, flip a work, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, working our way back down. And keep alternating between those two rows until this reaches the middle of our chest, and I'll meet you guys back along the bottom. All right, so I am back and I have just finished up going in with one side of my cup. I'm now at the middle of my chest. I have ended along the bottom and I have a total of 40 rows and my width is just about 5 inches or 13 centimeters unstretched. From here, we're going to repeat the same thing that we did here, but instead of decreases, we're going to do increases. And instead of increases, we're going to decreases. So let's get this next part started. Since we all should have ended along the bottom, we're going to start with a chain one, flip our work, and then we're going to put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And then once we reach the end of this row, we're going to do a chain two so that we can do our increase for our next row. So I will meet you guys back along the other end. Now that we have made our way all the way up to the top, we're now going to do our increase for this other side. So let's start with a chain two. Flip our work. We're going to insert our hook into that second chain from our hook with a slip stitch. And then from there, go ahead and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. We reach the end of this row, do a chain one, flip our work, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, making our way all the way back up while maintaining the increase along this end. Now, keep doing this for the same amount of rows that we have over here on this decrease side, and I'll meet you guys back so we can do the underarm portion together. All right, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with the increase side of our cup. And now we're going to close off this front panel by doing another underarm portion. So the first thing we're going to have to do is insert our stitch marker into the same amount of chains that we made when we built up to our cup. So if you guys have my numbers, I made a chain of 10. So along the side from the top, I counted down 10 stitches and inserted my stitch marker. From here, since we all should have ended along the bottom, I'm going to put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch until I reach my stitch marker, and then I'll meet you guys back for the next row so that we can start with our decrease. So we have made our way all the way up to our stitch marker, and now we're going to get started on our next row for our underarm. So since we are all right here, I'm going to chain one, flip our work, and start with a decrease of 2. So insert into that first back loop, pull through, into that next back loop, we should have 3 loops on our hook. So from here, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. And then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and then that's it. We reach the end of this row, chain one, flip our work, and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, making our way all the way up. And then when we're working our way back down, start with a decrease, then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Maintain those 2 rows until we have the same amount of underarm rows as we have on this other side. Do a chain up a 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. All right, y'all, so I am back and I have just finished up going in with the entirety of my front panel. And now we can get started on the back. So I did do a chain up a 1 and cut, and to get started on the back, we're going to start by making a chain, the same amount of chains that we made for our underarm portion for the front panel. So since I made a chain of 20, I'm going to make another chain of 20 right here. And now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain of 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, go ahead and insert. Should have 2 loops on our hook, so from here we're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. Let's do the next one. Into this next chain, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through everything. Continue to put 1 slip stitch into every chain. And then when we reach the end of this chain, do a chain 1, flip our work, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and that's it. We're going to repeat a back loop slip stitch row with no increases or decreases until we get a rectangle that can stretch across our back. Now it can be the same amount of rows as our front panel, or it could be more, it could be less. That is completely up to you. But once when I get mine all finished up, I'll meet you guys back to show you guys how we're going to seam it and to let you guys know my measurements and how many rows I have. Alright, so I am back with my back panel. Just to let you guys know, I have a total of 72 rows, and this is 9 inches or 22 centimeters unstretched. And now what we're going to do is seam it to the front panel, and we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam, so let's get that started. Start by inserting your hook into the corner stitch of the front panel. Yarn over and pull through everything to secure. And once we have that, we're going to slip stitch into the outside loops. So into that first available stitch, insert your hook in through that front loop, and then into the back panel, insert your hook in through that back loop. Should have 3 loops on our hook, so we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Let's try that again. 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. There we go. Let's do the next one. Into that next stitch, into the front panel, insert only in through that front loop, and then into the next stitch into the back panel, only insert in through that back loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Continue to do this, making our way all the way down. Do a chain up a 1 and cut when we don't have any more stitches left, and then do the same thing that we did here on the other side. Alright, so my front panel is now seamed to my back panel, and we're going to get started on our front border. So start by inserting your hook into any one of the top corner stitches. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. From here, with our primary color, so the same color that we just did our body with, we're going to put 1 single crochet into every slip stitch, making our way across. So let's do the first one. My first side slip stitch row is this divot right here. I'm going to insert my hook and then single crochet. This is my next side slip stitch row, which is this raised row. I'm going to find that top loop and then single crochet into there as well. Let's do just one more set. My next side slip stitch row is this divot, so insert your hook and single. And then this is my next side slip stitch row, which is this raised row. Go ahead and insert your hook into there and then single. And keep doing this until we reach this other corner. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. And now that I have my single crochet row all finished, we're now going to do another single crochet row on top of this one with our secondary color. So go ahead and insert your hook into one of the corner stitches. Insert your secondary color yarn onto your hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And from here, just put 1 single crochet into every stitch, and I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Alright, now that we have done our single crochets along the top for our front band, we're now going to get started on the back. So we're all going to start with grabbing our primary color, and then insert your hook into that first side stitch that we have. We want to make sure that we're not working into the side stitch of the secondary color, because otherwise it's going to break the color when we go in with our front band later. But what we're going to do is insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Once we have that, I'm going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then once we reach this underarm portion, I'm going to put 1 single crochet into every side slip stitch row, just like how we did for our first row for this front band. I'm going to continue that all the way up until I reach this last stitch right here, remembering not to work into that secondary color stitch. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so I've just finished up single crocheting along the edge of my back, and now we're going to go do the same thing with our secondary color. So now I'm going to insert my hook into this secondary color row, into that last side stitch. I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And then from here, we're just going to make our way all the way down, back and round, all the way up to this corner with single crochets, just putting one into every stitch. Do a chain up of one and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. All right, so my single crochet row is all finished up. And what we're going to do next is start working on the strap. The first thing we're going to have to do is insert our stitch marker into the middle stitch. If we have two like me, that's completely fine. Insert your stitch markers into both, or just into the one that you have if you have just one. What we're going to do is insert your hook if you have two stitches like me, into the left. If you have just one, just insert your hook into that one stitch. Insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through. Now from here, we're going to start with a chain 2. And then we're going to put 1/2 double crochet into every stitch, making sure that we're working towards the left of our piece for as thick as we want our band to be. I want mine to be about an inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making 4 half double crochets. So start with a yarn over, insert your hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook, so from here we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Let's do another one. Yarn over into that next stitch, pull through 3. And I'm going to do 2 more, so I have a total of 4. Now that my first half double crochet row is finished, we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to work our way back with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So into that first back loop, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through everything. Insert, pull through everything. Next back loop, pull through everything. Keep doing this until we reach the end of our row. Now after our row number 2, we're going to switch back to a half double crochet row, but they're all going to be within the back loops now. So start with a chain 2, flip our work, put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. So insert, pull through all 3. And we're going to continue to alternate between a back loop half double and back loop slip stitch row until the strap can reach up and over our shoulder until we hit this corner right here. And I'll meet you guys back right after a half double crochet row. All right, so I am back with my strap. I made a total of 33 rows. That's a total of 8.5 inches or 22 centimeters, and I ended on my half double crochet row, and now I can connect it to the front. And what we're going to do is now take a look at our front panel. Since we all ended on our half double crochet row, our hook should be along the inside right where this corner stitch is. From here, we're going to connect it and then continue with our back loop slip stitch and back loop half double crochet rows. So into that first stitch, into this panel, we're going to insert, yarn over, and pull through to connect. We are going to flip our work right away and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So go ahead and pull through, making our way all the way down. At the end of the slip stitch row, do a chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, and then I'll show you how we're going to connect it into the base. Now that we've connected it into the base, we're going to count up the next 2 stitches and then slip stitch. So count up 1, count up 2. Slip stitch into that second stitch, into the base, and now our half double crochet row is all closed off, and let's get started on our slip stitch row one more time. Slip stitch into that next stitch, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Chain 2 at the end of that row, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. Alternate between those 2 rows until we reach this other top corner up here, and then I'll meet you guys back. Cool, now that we have made our way all the way across with our front band, we're now going to go in with our strap. So all we're going to do is continue on with the next row in our sequence. Mine is a back loop half double crochet. So from here, all we're going to do is chain 2, flip our work, and then put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. At the end of this row, do a chain 1, flip our work, and then one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And we're going to keep repeating those 2 rows until we have the same amount of rows as our strap right here. Then I'll meet you guys back to show you how we're going to seam it into the back. I am back, and I have just finished up going in with my second strap, and now we're going to seam it to the back. So what we're going to do from here is count out the same amount of stitches that we made as our first half double crochet row right here. So since I had a total of 4, I'm going to count out 4 from my stitch marker. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go ahead and insert your hook into that stitch. And then from here, we're going to continue to pull our strap down so that it flips in on itself like this so that our seam can be along the inside. And from here, we're going to yarn over and pull through everything. And now let's do a single crochet seam. So what we're going to do is insert our hook into that first stitch into the strap, and then into the next stitch into the back panel. Insert your hook into that next available stitch, and then single crochet. Let's do one more. Into that next stitch into the strap, insert your hook, and then next stitch into the back panel, insert your hook, and then single crochet. We're going to keep doing this until we don't have any more stitches left. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. Now that we have finished our strap section, we're now going to get started on the back band, and we're going to work them one at a time. So we do want to make sure that our ribbing for our strap is faced up towards us. We're looking at the front, and we're all going to get started on the left side. So into the strap, we're going to insert our hook into any one of these side rows, making sure that it is the width that we want our back band to be. Now I want mine to be about the same size as my strap. So since I have a half double crochet right here, I'm just going to insert my hook into this second side half double crochet row that I have right here. And to insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through, chain up 2. And then from here, we're going to half double crochet all the way down, and we're going to be putting 2 half double crochets into every side half double crochet, and then 1 half double crochet into every side slip stitch row. So let's get that started. Yarn over. This is my next row right here. Insert with 1, and then into that same stitch, insert with 2. Once we have that, you're going to half double crochet into that side slip stitch row. And then since I have just one more half double crochet row right here, I'm going to put another 2 into there. There is 1, and then there is 2. Now that we've made our way all the way down to the base, we're now going to connect it the same way that we did for the front band. So we're all going to start off by counting out 2 stitches and slip stitching into that second stitch. So let's count 1, count 2. Slip stitch into that next stitch to close off that half double crochet row. Then slip stitch up just 1 stitch, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And we're going to keep repeating our back loop half double crochet and back loop slip stitch row all the way down until we meet our strap along the back. And then I'll meet you guys back to show you how we're going to seam. Alright, so we are back, and we have just made our way all the way around with our underarm band. And now, since we don't have any more stitches left, we're going to seam it to the strap. The first thing we're going to do is flip it inside out so that our seam is going to be along the inside. And then from here, we're going to do a single crochet seam. So we're going to start by inserting our hook into that first stitch, into our strap, and then into the first row that we have. We're all going to start by inserting our hook into the first stitch into the band, and then into the first side half double crochet row into the strap. So insert your hook with 1 single crochet. Now our next single crochet row is going to be inserted into that next stitch into the band, and then also into that same side half double crochet into the strap. And since I have another stitch, I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch into the band, and then it's going to go into the side slip stitch row into the strap. And we're going to continue on with that until we don't have any more stitches left. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back just so we can get started with the other side. And now that one of our bands is finished, we're going to do the same thing that we did here on the other side. What we're going to do though is actually start at the strap and then work our way up towards the top of the strap and then seam it the same way that we just did. It's going to be done exactly the same way, just starting in a different spot. So start by inserting your hook into the same side row that we inserted a hook into when we started off our previous band. So mine was into the edge of the second half double crochet. I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through and do a chain up of 2. Once when I have that, I'm going to put 2 half double crochets into every side half double, 1 single crochet into every side slip stitch row, and then I'm going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did, and then repeat my back loop half double crochet and back loop slip stitch rows, then seam it into the strap once we reach up here. Go ahead and get all of that done, and then I'll meet you guys back. All right, my top half is all done, so let's get started on the bottom. So let's flip our work upside down, making sure that our work is still flipped right side out. You're going to insert our hook into any one of our side slip stitch rows along the bottom. Insert your primary color onto your hook, pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And from here, we're just going to single crochet all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into every side slip stitch row. So let's do the first one. My first side slip stitch row is this divot right here. I'm going to find that top loop, insert my hook with 1 single crochet. Into my next side slip stitch row, which is this one right here, I'm going to find that top loop, and then single crochet. And that's it. Go ahead and keep doing this, making our way all the way around. Slip stitch into that chain 1 space, and then I'll meet you guys back. And now that our single crochet row with our primary colors all finished, we're going to do 1 more single crochet row with our secondary color. So go ahead and insert your hook into any one of these stitches, doesn't matter which one. Put 1 single crochet into every stitch, slip stitch into the chain 1 space, and then I'll meet you guys back. All right, so now that I have single crocheted along the bottom of my piece with my secondary color, I'm now going to make a chain the length that I want my bottom band to be. I want mine to be about 2 inches, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 10. And now that I have my chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain and then start with a chain 2. That doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain. And from here, we're going to yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet. And into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a half double crochet. So go ahead and insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and then pull through 3. And then from here, we're going to put 1 half double crochet into every chain. And now that we've put 1 half double crochet into every chain, we're now going to connect it into the base the same way that we've been doing the top bands. So just to make sure all of our ribbing is along the outside, and then we're going to go towards the left of our piece. So count up 1, count up 2, slip stitch into that second stitch to close off that first row. Slip stitch into the next stitch to start our back loop slip stitch row. Do a back loop slip stitch row. At the end of that row, do a chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, connecting it into the base the same way that we just did, and then I will meet y'all back when we don't have any more stitches left to seam our bottom band. I've just finished up my back loop half double and back loop slip stitch rows. I don't have any more stitches left, so now we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam to finish this piece up. So, making sure that our work is flipped right side out so that we're looking at the ribbing. We're going to insert our hook into that first available stitch's front loop into the front panel. This may be a little tight because these are the chains, but go ahead and insert your hook. And then also into that first stitch into the back panel, insert only in through that back loop. Should have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. So the same seam that we did for the sides. Let's do this again. Into that next stitch, into the front panel. Ooh, insert your hook in through that front loop only. There we go. And then into that next stitch into the back panel, insert into that back loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left. Do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, we have just finished up seaming our bottom band and we are all done. The last thing we're going to have to do is weave in all of our ends. And that is it. We are all done. Really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Check us out on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. All of those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye.